That's the Boros modern deck where we see you sack something to flip your Ajani at instant speed, but it's also a great, like we were talking about reach earlier, it's a great way to just turn all your mobilized creatures into extra damage post-combat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that card is sometimes sacrifice your board, deal 5, 6, 7 damage upstairs.
Yep.
Okay, I have no board left, but you've got no life total, so...
Great trade.
Great trade. The One Ring on turn number 3, now we see why we were so focused on getting that mana rep, getting the birds in play on turn number 2. We saw this card last game. Didn't quite get there, but it looked really good.
It was the only reason we were still commentating and trying to come up with scenarios in which we can get back in, because this card can do that for you.
Absolutely. One of the strongest one-point cards, I would say. Absolutely worth the point. And we see it in a really wide range of decks. Speaking of one-point cards, Flage into the hand now.
Yes. We've been talking about this card for the last game, and it didn't even turn up. That's how scary, that's how powerful this card is.
It does loom over the game a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a red-white aggressive deck, but it's got a shocking amount of reach.
Yeah.
And Flage is part of that.
Reach in this instance is burned to the face, not the keyword reach.
Yeah, very little reach, very little ability
Flage
to block
does not
flyers.
have reach. It
actually,
can't block flyers.
yeah, no. It's gigantic though. I feel like it kind of should.
It should be able
It's
to.
huge.
Yeah.
Like it's as tall as a skyscraper.
They're flying pretty high to get over Flage. All right, so Volti deep in the tank, lots of options.
Yeah, a lot of options. Has to think about, okay, so we're not pushing any damage this turn, but again, we're looking at that price of progress in hand. There's actually a basic in play now. So not quite as much damage as you would like. And also the Wasteland in play, you can, depending on what's up, we might get a little bit tricky with Wastelanding our own Savannah in response to a price of progress.
Life, which is amazing.
Yeah. Puts you down 2 lands, but if the 4 life makes all the difference, we are going to see an attack here to make the token, gain another life, and we can jump the cat. Put some counters on that cat with Guide of Souls.
Pouncing cat, fly it over.
Going to get to make more tokens.
Yep, so many permanents we have.
Already at 7. We'll get to 8 with the token, 9 if we play a land. So probably need to put 1 more permanent in play to get to have the City's Blessing and start making double tokens.
Well, we have that Ajani, so that's going to make a cat as well. So if we play that, we can double up on the cats that we get from Ajani too.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Pretty nice.
And we also get to double up on the 1/1 that we made from Mobilize.
Yeah. Are we worried about the Toxic Deluge? Is that what Volti's thinking about here?
Probably what you have to think about, but it's open deckless, so Volti knows there's only one sweeper.
Yeah. Volti also knows there is one sweeper.
It's true. And I'm sure if she has a way to play around it, she will.
Yep.
Doing some math here, working out which land to get. Because the other option is probably we have a Stoneforge, we could go get a Skull Clamp, something like that.
Yep.
Have a little bit of insurance.
Sure.
Skull Clamp also, I believe, would get us to the City's Blessing, so we still get to double up on those tokens. And then we have the Skull Clamp in play, so next time we can play and flip the Ajani on the same turn.
Yeah, I love that. Yep. Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of like, what's the better refill? If there is a Toxic Deluge, do you think you can win the game with an Ajani on its own, or do you think you can win the game with a Stoneforge?
Yep.
But yeah, I guess playing the Stoneforge, getting the Skull Clamp is very nice with the Ajani as a follow-up.
From Dougal's side, has to be feeling pretty good that got a One Ring in play with 17 life.
Yep.
There's a very scary board on the other side, but 17 life is a lot of life to be working with.
Yeah, and realistically, this is all combat damage, so we know Dougal has shown us, Glacial Chasm. So, if he's got that in hand, or he's going to draw 3 cards next turn towards it. So if we can draw that or draw the crop rotation or whatever, we're going to buy so much time on this battlefield, because it doesn't matter how big it grows, it doesn't matter how many counters you put on, how many tokens you make, you're dealing no damage through a Glacial Chasm.
Yeah, Glacial Chasm doesn't care how wide the board is.
Yep.
And we will see Stoneforge for Skull Clamp this turn. The really powerful pointed equipment Skull Clamp, it's sort of had a resurgence alongside Cloud, I would say.
Absolutely. It was almost being called for to depoint a while back, and then Cloud shows up and people are like, is it even playable? And then you see the first time they draw 4 cards off of it, you're like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is kind of a slow card, right? It costs you mana, it costs you board position, but it draws so many cards.
It does, yeah. Yep. And it makes you afraid to kill your opponent's creatures too. Like, even if you don't have the X ones, you put it on something else, you're like, I'm happy to block, I'm happy to get thrown in front of any removal.
Yeah, you get your +1 pump and you just sort of say, well, I mean, you either have to kill this or it's going to keep attacking you. Like,
yep.
Sort of put the decision on your opponent, but they don't have a good option. They're both bad options.
Yep.
We do see here, so the City's Blessing acquired by Volti.
There is that Toxic Deluge in hand.
Oof. That is an important card to have in hand here.
Amazing. We have the black from the Birds of Paradise, which is going to die anyways.
Yep.
All right.
Really powerful. And then we have the One Ring. So we can Toxic Deluge this way and then try to use this One Ring to pull ahead. I imagine might be the play. Yep, here it is. Toxic Deluge left up the Wasteland. So we also going to Wasteland? Take out a land here? Just to really clean up Volty's board.
Wow, excellent. So lose all these tokens. But like we said, this is excellent. This is exactly what Duke needed. But, we're going to have this Ajani follow-up. We're going to flip the Ajani. So Volty playing around it, and it's paid off here.
There is that Wasteland, and we see Caracas.
Amazing.
It's pretty good.
This is exactly what Dukes wants.
Well, I will say, Ajani is not one of the better legends to Caracas.
Sure.
Not your opponent's Ajani, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit awkward.
But if you need to do it to stop it from flipping, you need to do it and buy yourself an extra turn, I guess.
It is quite good against Flage, an escaped Flage. That's a big cost to put it back in the hand. I mean, you still get the lightning helix.
Yeah.
But a big cost to put it back in the hand. Notably, Dukes did not activate the One Ring. Going to have a think about that. Said, look, I'm not going to use that this turn, so we can just wait on that.
Okay, so now we've seen sideboard cards from both players here. We've got the Toxic Deluge and we've got this Unlicensed Curse. So both players being hindered in what they want to do normally in their normal game plans.
Yeah, absolutely. Dismember, a nice one. Just more interaction for Dukes. Going to play out Dark Depths. Now, notably, doesn't have the Yavimaya in play, doesn't have an Urborg in play, so that's not going to tap for mana just yet. And declined to activate the One Ring. Said, I don't want to take more damage per turn. I'm just going to keep that in play. Maybe we'll draw cards later, but right now we don't need to.
So this deck likes to go very long, but we also got to keep an eye on the clock here. We've got 10 minutes left in the round, and so if Doug can win this game, we're going to need to play game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. The Lands deck does have some fast draws. There are certainly some draws that, put an infinite combo in play very quickly, and we can see that.
Yep.
But a lot of its games are going to be slow like this, and the clock does start to become a pressure for you.
And just to go back to Dismember, I think, I might be wrong, but I think it might be the most played card today, to be honest, or one of the most played cards.
We had a look this morning, and it was up there. It and Brainstorm neck and neck.
Yeah.
No surprise there to see Brainstorm, but Dismember's a new one. I think people have really caught on to how powerful this card is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially, I think the format has maybe sped up over the last couple of years to where that cheap removal is so important, and the life loss matters less, I would say, or is less of a cost, just because the games are so fast, you have to keep up with it.
Absolutely. I would argue that the game's sped up, honestly, in the last 2 sets. We see, if you look at the Grixis decks, they're moving to, Moonshadow and Super Shredder, and I'm sure we'll see those decks later, but the format in general has just got a lot more 1 and 2 mana threats, as we saw Stadium Headliner and so on. So, yeah, having Dismember is just so important, especially for these weird decks that need to buy themselves 2 or 3 turns.
Yes.
Dismember is so powerful to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to see the Ajani bounced. Volty will net a 2/1 cat.
Yep. Still no land here, so that Wasteland was very...
It was really powerful.
Yeah.
And now Maze of Ith as well there. But I think we might see Yavimaya, and then we can hardcast this Vibrance. Again, no red mode, but going to get the Sylvan Scrying, going to get a couple life, which is very important with the One Ring in play. And most importantly, tutoring a land is pretty good in this deck.
Yeah. Honestly, I think in this board state, having this big old blocker is very good too.
It is, but I think we'll also get to go find maybe a Thespian stage, something like that to
win the game.
To actually win the game.
Yep.
Maybe get to start game number 3 with sort of 5 minutes, something like that, left in the round.
And you see the power of these red-white decks too. If Volty had access to a 3rd mana here, something like Blood Moon does do so much damage here. All the work that Doug's been doing over all these turns just gets undone instantly by one card such as Blood Moon. So that's also a very potent card that we've got to be aware of that. And if there's a Magus of the Moon in the list as well.
Yep. And I think the thing that really impresses me is we're seeing Volty miss her 3rd land. Well, her 3rd land for the 2nd time, right?
Yes.
In the past, I think red-white aggressive decks like this, really low to the ground, might struggle to use their mana if they draw too many lands.
Yep.
Not true of these decks anymore.
Yeah.
We see Flage. We see there's a Ranger Captain of Eos in there, which goes and finds another 1-drop. A bunch of the 1-drops have scaling. They do things.
Yep.
Comets are 4-drop. That's really powerful. There's so much ability to spend your mana, even as you draw more lands. I think lets you play these longer games after your opponent disrupts you. You're not just a sort of pedal to the metal, one mode, one gear aggro deck.
Absolutely, yeah. And Skull Clamp, we talked about it earlier. That alone just, keeps you in the game for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. I suspect we may see that this turn. We may see the Skull Clamp put on this cat to try and draw cards, try and find another land drop.
Yep. This is where it becomes quite difficult, really, is you've got so many different options and you need to construct a game plan under time pressure, under a lot of pressure from your opponent, starting to put out big cards. Like Doug's engine is starting to run now, you know. They don't have any infinites yet, but they have a lot of card advantage every turn. As we saw, he's foregone tapping his one ring for 2 turns in a row now. That's how sort of confident he is in his position.
Yeah, it just says the only way I'm losing this game is to life loss. I'm going to not speed that up. I'm going to not give you the free points.
Yep.
We did see Thespian Stage found off the Vibrance. So that combination, if you haven't seen this before in the lands with Dark Depths, what you need to know is we're going to play the Thespian Stage. We're going to copy Dark Depths with it.
Yep.
Legend rule away the original Dark Depths and keep the new one, the Thespian Stage.
Yep.
It has no ice cannons on it, so it's going to get sacrificed, make an indestructible 20/20 with flying. So basically, we get to spend 3 mana on both of those lands to make a 20/20. And that's the cleanest, fastest way for these land decks to end the game.
Yep.
Notably, in this case, Faulty actually has more than 20 life. There's going to be a couple swings with that 20/20.
And it's always a precarious combo to go for against the white base deck. If they have Swords to Plowshares, if they have Path to Exile, they can deal with your Marit Lage.
Well, the bigger one as well is Karakas.
Yes.
Marit Lage is a legendary, so Karakas is the traditional long-time enemy of Marit Lage.
Yeah. Lucky at the moment, the Karakas is on Doug's side, so unless he cracks it as his own Marit Lage, it should be fine. All right, so now we're going to take 2 damage.
Yep.
All right, so we need to actually... I guess we're all in on this Dark Depths here?
I guess so. Kaya there is nice for a little bit of life gain if the game goes longer, but I suspect we're going to be shoving in on this Dark Depths.
I like it.
As you say, maybe with more time, we could draw this out. We could try and win with the 1 ring.
Yep.
Plenty of resources to go for it more safely.
Yep.
But under 5 minutes now left in the round, I think you probably just have to pull the trigger.
Yep.
If you want any hope of playing the game 3.
Yeah, if you want any hope of staying out of the blue-white bracket.
Although maybe Lanes likes to be in the blue-white bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it depends on how many rest in pieces we're dealing with, and Soul Guide Lanterns and Relics.
I will say, I don't know how much blue-white control is here, and these games in Highlander, I mean, we saw it here. This is 2 non-blue decks, but these games can go long. All the decks are so good at grinding, playing long games, having mana sinks, that you really do have to be cognizant of time in these tournament situations, I think, in this format, and that is a challenge our players are going to face all day.
Yeah. It's also a deck with a lot of just mechanical requirements of you. You have to do a lot of tapping and moving around and sacrificing and putting dice on your lands. There's just so many actions that it also adds to the time on top of the thinking of how to construct these very weird, elaborate game plans that it puts forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Heaps of searching as well, lots of shuffling.
Yep.
Just those little things that really add up, and that I think it's easy to overlook.
Yep.
And then when you actually play the games,
yeah,
it becomes really obvious, like, wow, okay, there's a lot.
I wonder if you lose some time to, at the start, when you hand over your deck list, how many times your opponent goes, Judge, what is this card? And Judge, what is this card?
Yes.
If you lose X amount of time on that too.
Yeah, it certainly adds another wrinkle to playing Magic, playing in these open deck list tournaments, which is really interesting. Sylvan Library, another card that's really good in long grinding games.
Yeah, very old school one, this one. I remember this used to be, people would use this and brainstorm in the same phase and have a bunch of judge calls going on.
Yeah, that's, Sylvan Library, one of those old cards that just doesn't quite work in modern language, modern Magic. This is, I don't know what this version is that we've got on screen. It's really pretty.
It is gorgeous, yeah.
I don't know what that is. Duke's, of course, going with an old version.
Classic.
Which, well, that one's not in English. We go and find one of the originals. The wording on these is actually more confusing, I think.
Of course. Okay, so what is this here? Are we attacking for 2 or are we crewing here?
Look, I think we've crewed. So we've crewed the hearse, and now we're going to skull clamp the token to try and flip the Ajani.
We're going to make a 20/20 in response.
Dougal at 11. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 5 non-basic lands in play. We are going to cast Price of Progress in response. Dougal will go to 1.
And the 1 ring should finish it off.
Yep, the 1 ring. We might... Yeah, I think so. Price of Progress.
And as we said, that card is the game plan. When you see it in your opening hand, you construct your game plan around it. As you said, you imagine your opponent's got 12 less life or 10 less life, and then you go from there. And that's exactly how we saw that game play out. Volti got behind on board, got behind on mana, but still just waited. And this is exactly why this card's so powerful, and you're going to see it so much today, because for these decks that take forever and slow down the game, I guess that's the thing with Highlander. It's such a high power level format. You have to put so many pieces into play to slow your opponent down that you don't actually have much pressure behind that.
Yeah,
if you're playing all of these lock pieces, removal pieces, answers, you don't have enough cards out of what your starting hand in a few draws to actually construct a game plan. So if you're playing one of those decks, you've got to be aware of Price of Progress.
You do.
Because you're trying to take the game to turn 6 or 7, and that card's just going to wipe you out.
Yeah, there's only one of them in the deck, but when you drag the game out like that, the chances that your opponent can find it go up and up and up. And it really does have to be on your mind. And that's hard. That was 10 damage out of nowhere. That's really hard to keep in mind when you start with 20 to think about, okay, well, I'm actually starting at 10. Really complicated, really hard, but really well played by both players. Volti squeaking out 2 really close games there for round number 1. She'll start off 1-0, 7 more rounds to come still. You and I are going to be back in the booth for round number 2.
Exciting.
Which is very exciting. We'll get to see maybe more Price of Progress, maybe something else. There's so many different decks in the room. So don't go anywhere. This round just ticking down now. Should have the round over pretty soon. And next round up pretty soon.
Pretty soon as well.
Here at Highlander World. So we will be back with you coming up soon.
Yeah, I was like potentially trying to get in the spot. I've reported. Oh. I need to refresh my thing. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Good luck in the next game. Thank you.
Lovely playing you, dude.
You as well. I was trying to get in the spot where like you might play a Magus. I could then play the depth and then use this for red to deal with the like Magus and then get the 2020 buff.
Yeah, I think the last.
It's very important to make sure you de-sideboard, especially on these like long rounds in which like you feel like you want to just get up, take a breather, and move on. But the last thing you want is a game loss.
And here we are back in the booth after that game ends. Ian and Sahar here for round number 1. We got you for round number 2 as well. And then we've got a whole rotating cast of other characters who'll be in here later. Yeah, absolutely. Also, Sam will be here. So, whole range of different people. Really cool decks there. What would you be playing this week, do you think, Sahar?
The boring answer is Grixis. I tested it a lot with my brother. He's playing his first event today.
Exciting.
Yeah, so he's really excited about that. So yeah, I tested a lot of that, and the deck is very powerful, very consistent, and it got a bunch of new tools recently, things like Super Shredder, and you know, there's no consensus list. You can play Drown in the Lock or cut it. There's Fairy Masterminds. There's of course the points, whether you play Deadpool or you play Murktide Region. There's just so many powerful options. There's so many ways to construct the deck. So I think, with the limited time I had and wanting to win a Time Walk, I would be playing Grixis today.
Yeah, absolutely. Time Walk's a pretty big incentive to play the good deck, to play something you're comfortable with. I'm sure we will see more Grixis later today. So that's coming up after the break. Stick around for round number 2.
make up for your sins in the church. You do it in the streets. You do it at home. The rest is bullshit and you know it.
Welcome back. Round 2, day 1, World's Single Tournament. We've got 207 players, was it?
Yeah, 207 players, 8 rounds rather. Didn't quite get to the 9 rounds.
Yeah.
Thankfully for us, as people have to be here all day, but 8 rounds in their top 8. Very exciting. And as I say, round number 2, we got a couple 1-0s coming up.
Yep.
So Jack Ding on Esper Tempo. Jack is very well known, very experienced player, both in paper and also frequent player of online tournaments as well. Really successful there. Yep. And on the other side, we've got Ash, who is playing Jund. So a couple staples of this format, I would say.
Yep. All right, we're straight into it. So Jack Ding's deck's going to be one of the most beautiful decks in the room. So I'm very excited to watch him play this.
Yep, black-bordered dual land. Every card we've seen so far is foil, except for the dual land.
Yep.
Absolutely beautiful. And this is sort of, I would say, one of the common decks in this format. We're calling it Esper Tempo. It's all the best cards in Esper. It's the best cantrips, the best threats, the best interaction. The points are really spread out. Basically, a bunch of really good 1-point cards and also Tameo.
Yep.
Some new cards, Wan Chi Tong, Aang, couple sort of, 2026 cards, but also a really good smattering of some of those older, really powerful staples. Counterspell, Force of Will, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's taking the Grixis shell and it's adjusting itself as a metagame call to have some of these white cards that it believes might be better even in post-board games. Or I think that personally, looking through the list and having played it a little bit, I think that this is hedging its bet against combo, which seems to have taken over the format a little bit recently. So having things that can interact more on a stack or be lock pieces or whatever. I also did notice Dress Down is a great new little combo with Moonshadow. So if you play your Dress Down first, your Moonshadow will come in as a 7/7 menace. So that's the sort of stuff that we're looking to do here, is to just put more pressure on attack. I think Rafine's an excellent card in this deck.
Yep. Really powerful threat. Flow State is one of the new cards from Secrets of Strixhaven we'll see potentially. That's sort of one of the, I would say, low bar cards.
Yep.
It is obviously really powerful, and we'll see how many decks adopt it. And then on the other side, good old Jund from Ash.
Yep.
Again, really good threats. Got some mana ramp, got some acceleration. A couple spicy ones we might see come up, but overall it's just a lot of really powerful 3, 2, 3, 4 drops with some acceleration and the good interaction. This deck has a bit of a +1/+1 counters theme. Talking to Ash, I know this started out, she tried to build a sort of hardened scales +1/+1 counters deck.
Yep, as many have.
And a lot of that ended up getting cut, but there's still some remnants of it that you'll see from her. But of course, on turn 1, it's Thoughtseize, as all black decks do.
Yeah, as all Jund decks do.
Absolutely. And Orcish Bowmasters is the take. That's a really powerful threat, so want to try and slow it down, make sure Jack can't get ahead on board with that. Bowmaster's maybe not at its best against Jund. It really thrives against the other blue decks with their cantrips, but even against Jund, really powerful as well. Yeah,
especially if Ash might have an X1 or something to have to deploy, and she would know that. So, all right, Nethergoyf here. I'm not super impressed with this card. People keep telling me it's great. I think it's got to be the worst 1-point card in these blue-black X decks. But maybe it's a necessary evil. But to me, it's seemed underwhelming. How have you found this card?
I think it can be really powerful. You're right that as a pointed card, it is sometimes underwhelming.
Yeah.
The thing I would say is that from talking to especially the Esper players, there aren't that many good 1-drops anymore. Yeah. They've all been pointed, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so sometimes you actually end up spending a point on it just to have another powerful 1-drop that you can get on the front foot with, that you can be proactive with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the classic Delver game plan where we see we want to play a 1-drop, and then we want to daze you, and then we want to Thoughtseize and go from there. Okay, so we see this Brainstorm here on end step, so just trying to utilize our mana here. And are we missing a land drop? I think that might be a Lorien revealed, and then there's a land up the back there, a Shadowy Backstreet, I believe. So
yeah, few options.
A couple of awkward lands.
Yeah.
They either cost a mana or they come in tapped.
They'll tap lands, potentially. But some options.
So we've got options. So we're still playing the game here.
And I know we were talking about Netherglyph, but already it'll be a 3/4.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
1 mana 3/4, pretty powerful, has some ability to come back from the graveyard.
Yeah.
And I think Esper as well, there's a little bit of graveyard reliance, but possibly less than Grixis and certainly less than Jund.
Yep.
So you cop a little bit less splash damage, I would say.
Yep, absolutely.
Bristly Bill on the other side, something we see more often in lands, and some of these Jund decks do lean into the lands package a bit more to put counters on, to grow. It's sort of a scaling threat, I would say.
Oh, and we've also got Ren and 6, and we have like the Wasteland Strip Mine package, do we, in this deck?
We do have Ren and 6, and Strip Mine and Wasteland. So yeah, this is sort of the lands variant
Yep.
of Jund that you do see sometimes.
Which I think makes sense conceptually because the Jund deck is so fair. I think when you play fair deck in this format, you have to have something unfair going on. And so having something like a Strip Mine recursion with the Ren and 6, that's kind of your way to try to interact with the mono blue Tron decks or the artifact decks or whatever it is. You need to have some sort of access that's unfair as well because you don't have counterspells in Jund. So
Yeah,
you're going to really
absolutely.
struggle against those combo decks.
Yeah, for sure. You just need to have, as you say, some sort of unfair way. Not everyone can be beaten by Terminate and Tarmogoyf.
Yeah. Well, I would argue no one can be beaten by Terminate and Tarmogoyf.
How about Nethergoyf and Fatal Push? Sort of the modern equivalent
Yeah.
of those cards.
Yep.
Nethergoyf will attack here in for 3. So already Ash down to 13. I mean, between the fetching, the Thoughtseize, and then the 1 mana 3/4, your life goes really quickly in this format.
Yeah, a lot of damage. And again, we you know, it's not here, but just would like to highlight again, Price of Progress, how deadly it is in this format.
Yeah.
Just the life totals drop so quickly, and everyone's playing dual lands.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be all day. Just keep an eye out on Price of Progress. Won't necessarily pop up here, but just think about it throughout the day. Just be like randomly stop the game and be like, who dies to Price of Progress
Yeah.
here? And a lot of times it will be at least someone, if not both
Yeah,
players.
sometimes it's both. We do occasionally see draws with Price of Progress, which is always amusing as well.
Yeah, ironically, actually, last time I versed Jack Ding, we were still both 3-0, and it was game 3, and I was losing, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take the draw, and I press a progress, and we both drew. So,
Excellent. My favorite is when that happens in untimed rounds, and we just get to see more Magic.
Yeah.
We just sometimes get to see 4 or 5 games.
yes. The infinite loop.
Absolutely. Lelia, the really powerful 3-drop here. This one's been around for a while. Originally a commander card, and it is just kind of everything you want in a snowballing 3-drop. It
Yeah.
draws cards, it attacks for a lot, it has haste.
Yep. And it gets those counters even not from its own ability. So it can grow as well, even faster than the 1 per turn that you're used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's the card we've been talking about all day, Thalia, because we've seen 2 white decks so far, and this is probably one of the premium cards in my mind that's not pointed. I'm not sure if it will get pointed because it's very synergistic, but as a card that isn't pointed, it's one of the most powerful cards in the format that isn't pointed in my mind.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
And you touched on it, but it's the fact that it is synergistic. A lot of its power comes from synergy. Obviously, I mean, at the baseline, it attacks and it flickers out a blocker for a turn and gets in. But where it really comes up is once you start flickering things like Overload or the Bale Merc or Quantum Riddler, these permanents that are in play ephemerally, and you get to keep them in play more than that. And so the more cards that get printed, we see more and more things synergized with it, and it just gets better and better, and is now one of the best cards. I mean, this is a great example.
Yeah.
Swift Savior, we're going to get to flicker that out probably, get another E2B trigger off that.
Yeah, this is excellent. So now we're seeing the power of these white cards that Grixis doesn't have access to. You see Thalia in combination with Hang, and you're feeling very protected, very covered here, and you've got a lot of pressure on board, which is excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have called this Esper Tempo. We didn't call it Esper Midrange. And you sort of see that differentiation here. Something like a Grixis might be more inclined to sit back, to remove cards, to cast divinations to, accrue card advantage. The Esper deck says, no, I'm going to flicker out your blockers. Yeah, you can cast them again. They'll cost you 2 mana. They'll come back. But you're going to have to spend mana on them. And all of that time, I'm going to keep attacking.
Yep. And so similar to that first game we watched, as you mentioned, sometimes Strip Mine and Wasteland aren't that powerful if you're already behind on board. And so we see Ash struggling with that a little bit here. Strip Mine's obviously very powerful in this matchup, but because we're so far behind on board, you probably need to use it as a mana source.
The other awkwardness we see is there's a Lightning Bolt and a Collapse Enhancer, a couple removal spells.
But both red.
Both red, and Yavimaya in play. Strip Mine in hand. Barsing Say in hand. So 3 lands that don't tap for black or red mana. Just gunking up the hand a little bit, making it a bit harder for Ash to effectively deploy her spells.
Yeah, she's not in a great spot here, so I'm excited to see how she tries to work her way out of it.
Morlock's a really nice one, though.
That's a great start. So we can... how many counters is this going to get? 2?
2 counters. Going to come in as a 4/4 and fight.
Thalia, we presume?
Thalia... Probably
Possibly
would be
the
my guess. Yep, so we're going to take that out. I believe that Nethergoyf's still a 3/4.
Yep, and this Aang is a threat. Okay. Oh, another 1 white-blue bold man. We have Teferi drawn. So what are we going to do with this?
We can potentially bounce the Morlock and just get in. But to be honest, the attacks are already good. So they nearly go for a 4/5 now with instant sorcery creature land in play.
Wow, just take all the
Just
damage.
take it all the way down to 1. I mean, no great blocks, but we also don't see the jump block. Down to 1.
Yep.
We know the Bowmasters has gone, Shieldred looks pretty good here.
Yeah, it does.
As it often does. When you have 4 mana, the best thing to do is play Shieldred.
I still don't understand Shieldred. It's so powerful. I know it's powerful. But when I read it, it's just a bunch of stats.
It is.
And then there's that little tiny, the addition. But it just feels like the card comes together as a package. If you just took that and added it to something else, the 2 life, it wouldn't be that great. But the 4/5, the Death Touch, it's just big stats with that effect. It puts a lot of pressure on your opponent.
This is somewhat crazy to say about a creature with 2 abilities, but it's a shockingly simple card.
Yeah.
By 2026
That's kind of what I was
standards.
trying to get at,
It's 4 mana. It's
Yeah.
got pretty good stats at 4/5. Death Touch comes up, but it's already a 4/5.
Yep.
And you'd think the drain ability is kind of like, I mean, it's nice. It's a couple damage, couple life gain every turn, roughly, but it really adds up. And so often it is the hammer at the top of the curve.
Yeah.
Where you get your opponent down low, you play this thing, it's hard to remove. It doesn't die to Lightning Bolt. It's dies to Fatal Push sometimes, but not always. It is just really threatening, and it's a huge life swing. 4 life returns actually a lot, let alone if your opponent ever has to cast a cantrip. That's where it really shines. It's against the other blue decks, where they have to cantrip to find their interaction, to find their removal. It'll often get 2, 4, 6 damage in before it goes.
I think subtly something that is maybe not obvious to people who haven't played the format. In these post-board games, you have access to anywhere up to 4 blasts, depending on your configuration. So if you're playing Grixis, you might have the full 4 blasts. Playing black threats in the post-board games of these mirror matches is so important because they don't get hit by the blasts. So having something like Shieldred to tap out for versus Deadpool or Murktide, which can get blasted, is so much more powerful and so much more... you want your threat to stick. You want to invest into it and make it stick around. In the post-board games, having access to single mana removal, it's such a liability for some of the other threats.
Yeah, and those blasts are ubiquitous. You mentioned Grixis and the other blue-red decks like Blue Moon get to play all 4, but even, you know, Ash has both red blasts.
Yep.
Every blue deck will have both blue blasts.
Exactly.
And that's especially true. We see a lot of actually red, blue, gold cards that are noticeably worse because of that.
That's right.
You know, trying to play a big, expensive blue-red threat.
Yeah.
It just gets really vulnerable.
I think that's one of the reasons, low-key, that Vivi or Nidier hasn't taken off in this format, because Vivi takes a little while to get big and to start generating advantage. And normally it gets so big that you can't really remove it. But again, in this format, it doesn't matter if it's a 6/9, it just gets killed for 1 mana.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't see any of the big planeswalkers, something like a Raoul or, you know, the new Raoul that makes otters.
Yeah.
Don't see that at all. Even stuff like Jace the Mind Sculptor. We saw that used to be pointed. It's now 0, and it's pretty niche. You don't see it that much. And part of the reason is just that it's really hard to play a 4 mana planeswalker that trades 1-for-1 with a single mana spell.
Yep. All right, so do we want to have a look at these sideboards here? So we think from Ash, probably Carpet, Choke, the standards.
Yeah, we sort of saw there Ash pulling in a pile of cards as she was sideboarding. There's a bunch of good ones. Carpet and Choke are absolute haymakers against any blue deck, obviously. Endurance probably pretty good against the graveyard interaction. She brought Massacre in, I saw that.
Sure.
There's enough planes, there's enough small white creatures that deals with. Colorgun's Command is a nice grindy card. The 2 red blasts we talked about. Veil of Summer is really powerful as well. That's a nice one against any sort of black removal. We might see Liliana potentially. It comes down, it removes a thing. A lot of really good options, and I'm sure Ash has thought it through, has plans for this. We sort of talked about this last round, that there's a lot of rogue decks that you might not have prepared for.
Yeah.
Esper's not one of those.
Yeah.
Esper is a deck that I'm sure Ash has a good plan for.
Yeah.
She knows this matchup. She knows what's important, what matters, what pressure points to lean on, and how to sideboard.
Yeah. I'm not playing this event. I was testing a little bit, and one of the things that kept coming with my testing group and others that I was communicating with was the blue-black X was the central focus of everyone's testing, was the central focus of what everyone's expecting. So the blue-black Flood Moon decks, the blue-black white decks, Esper that we're seeing now, and the blue-black red, of course, Grixis, they are the main things that people are focusing on. So,
and we don't talk about Sultai.
No one cares about that.
But yeah, you're right. The blue-black fair piles, those interactive core and that threat suite is really common. And how you sort of season that deck around the outside, there's a few different schools of thought, a few different options, but everyone has to be prepared for those blue-black mid-range decks.
Yep.
From Jack's side, similarly, some bangers. Couple blue blasts are going to be really good. There's a Submerge. This card feels like cheating anytime you get to play it.
It's such a sweet feeling.
Like 0 mana, and the worst part is it's not just removal.
Yeah.
but they have to draw it again. So when you do it on like a mana dork, and they have to know that their draw next turn,
Yeah.
is going to be a dud.
Yeah. You know when you're cutting with scissors and the scissors start gliding? You know that feeling you
yeah,
get?
Yep.
I think that feeling when you submerge your opponent when they fetch in response to their fetch land,
yeah.
I think that's the equivalent that you get to the scissors gliding. Like there is just very few feelings that are that euphoric, really.
For sure. Fractured Identity is the other one that we might see
Yeah, so
come in.
I think it's like very mid-rangey here. So maybe the Kaido and the Fractured Identity come in just as like extra bits of removal, card advantage, and just like going bigger and continuing. If we do see Liliana, something like Kaido is an excellent check to Liliana, and I think there's a Lily there in the opening hand. Is that correct?
That does look like
It
a
is.
Liliana, yeah. Yep, so that's a really powerful one, especially if you can get it ahead of curve. As we said, one of the main advantages of Jund over the other sort of blue mid-range decks is you get to play mana dorks. So especially on the play, if you have a mana dork into your 3-drop threats, you can really pull ahead.
Yeah. It's an advantage to some. It's a disadvantage to others, really. Some people see it as a liability to play Ignoble Hierarch in your deck. But you're right. In these situations, you can get out ahead of your opponent.
Yeah, of course. It's swings and roundabouts. There are pluses and minuses.
All right, so...
And there is
a
the
siege.
siege.
It's Balemerc Siege, I
That
believe.
is...
No way of knowing.
So this is the green-black siege. Couple different options on it. It is Hollowmerc
Holomerc,
Siege.
that's the one.
So, couple options.
So I think we've picked the Sultai one. That's what the one represents on the dice.
Yep, we sure have. So, as I said, this started out as more of a counter-heavy deck.
Yep.
Not as strong now, but Hollowmerc Siege, one of the cards that still survives. We saw there's a Scavenging Ooze in hand, so there's a lot of incidental cards that put counters on.
Yep.
That can be really powerful with Hollowmerc Siege as a draw engine.
Yep.
Turn number 3 here, we're going to play Stomping Ground. So not jamming the Liliana. Open mana from Jack is scary. We saw Felia last game, but also you have to assume there's counter spells, there's things like that.
Oh, this is an interesting card. There was a lot of hype around this one when it came out, and I understand why, because it can hit any land off the top. So we've got a free strider look out here. So whenever you commit a crime, look at the top 5 cards of your library, and you may put a land from among them onto the battlefield tab. So yeah, you can get any lands. You can get the strip mines, the wastelands that your deck is so desperate to get to start the recursion.
Yep.
And looking 5 time and time again as an added bonus is very, very powerful.
And even when you don't get strip mine or wasteland, just putting extra lands in play, this Jund deck has a pretty heavy curve.
Yep.
A lot of 3-drops, some 4-drops.
Yep.
Loves to have more mana in play. And the 3/3 reach body, also not bad.
Yeah.
And committing crimes, that's kind of what Jund is all about.
Yep.
Interacting with your opponent, targeting your opponent's stuff.
Yeah. And especially in this matchup here, our opponent's got Tamio. The Jack has Avatar Aang, or Aang at the whatever it is.
Hang at the crossroads, yep.
Yeah, so
No.
yeah, the blue-white Aang.
Savior.
The flash one.
Aang Savior.
That's the one. So having the Aang and having the Tamio, so having the 3/3 reach body is actually incredibly relevant in this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually saw that one in hand. There's an Aang Swift Savior and a Teferi in hand.
And a
So-
Tamio as well.
Yep, lots of options here. The 3/3 checking it
Yep.
pretty nicely there. And we saw Dress Down just get cycled, and notably from Jack, cycled in the main phase, so that it didn't stick around into Jack's turn.
Yeah,
Teferi's pretty nice though. Teferi on a board with one creature always feels
incredible.
really good. You get your repulse, and then just a Planeswalker sticks around just cause.
I played some Underworld Breach recently. I know you've played this deck.
Mm.
Teferi and Underworld Breach are so nice because I was doing Value Breach, buying back Teferi, bouncing the Underworld Breach to my hand, and every turn I had Teferi Breach. It was very nice.
Yep. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Also,
Yeah.
you get to just do your breach things knowing your opponent can't do anything.
interact.
That's the real thing, I think. Teferi, it's really just holding your hand. He holds your hand and says, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
There's
You're
very
safe
little
with me.
you're safe with me. Very little your opponent can do about this at the moment.
Yep. All right, so redeploying that free strider lookout. We're going to commit a crime here. We're going to red blast the Teferi.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look for a land. We're back at parity here. So this is one of the things I found playing the Esper deck a little bit is that because it's tempo, naturally you need to be ahead. And
Yes.
if you start to fall behind, you're missing things like Pyrogoyf, you're missing things like Deadpool, you're missing some of those big hitters that the red deck provides you with, even something like Chorus Steelcutter to keep generating advantage. So we're going to hope to play a couple of spells here to try to get on the front foot again.
Yeah, and the longer the game goes as well, not only do you not have those catch-up mechanisms, your curve is lower. It is harder. You don't have the big haymakers that will just catch up by themselves.
And you don't have price of progress.
Yeah, and you don't have price of progress. You can't win games out of nowhere like that. You You do need to be on the front foot, and you need to win the game over several turns of attacking.
Yep.
Still, 4 lands in play now. Got to untap with Teferi, immediately tick that one up.
Yep.
And now we might see a couple spells. Neligoyf, Tamio, a couple 1-drops in the hand.
Yep.
Flow State not turned on yet, not even close. Ang's a nice 3-drop. So a few different options for Jack.
Yep. So we opted to go for that Surveil there instead of the Red Blast. And so I think maybe we're thinking we can either just attack the Teferi next turn, or we just have to hold off on it. It's only going to +1. There's not going to be much advantage. We can still blast it next turn.
Yeah, exactly. I think removing a Teferi that's already minused, already drawn a card, does feel sad. You do ideally want to be able to attack it down. And there are a lot of really powerful blue cards in Jack's deck. Only the 2, so going to hold back the Tamio, actually.
Yes. I think we're just representing Counterspell here.
Has been heavily represented. Held up mana on turn 2 as well.
Yep.
On turn 3, we tapped out for the Teferi, but certainly something that would be on Ash's mind.
Yep.
Thoughtseize, though, is a really nice way to
excellent draw.
Find that out. That one was left on top with the Surveil, so Ash knew that was coming. Going to shock down, take a couple points of damage.
Take a couple more. Oh, not yet.
And this is really powerful, right? Thoughtseize also a crime.
Exactly.
So that's really nice, but you love to be able to clear the way.
Absolutely.
That's what these Jund decks love to do. They love to clear the way with their Thoughtseizes, with their discard spells, and then play Haymakers. We might see Liliana come down, for example, here. Nothing for Jack to do but show the hand. There's Tamio, Angswift Savior, Flow State, Inquisition of Kozilek, and Rafine.
You've got to be pretty surprised being Ash here. Maybe not, because if you know how good Jack is, but you're pretty surprised the representation of Counterspell turn after turn, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, the coast was clear the whole time.
And not only that, but like Jack decided to not cast Inquisition last turn. Tapped his black mana. Didn't cast Tamio either. Just held up 2 mana to represent a spell that wasn't in his hand and declined to play one of his best threats.
Yep.
We're going to see Aang get taken there. That sort of flash interactive spell, really powerful. And we have the Red Blast for Tamio. I think it's probably part of it. Tamio, to me, is one of the most powerful cards in that hand, but Flow State as well, neatly checked by Scavenging Ooze.
It's I think it's a common poker thing, what Jack just did there, which is like, once you demonstrate that it's part of your range to bluff, your opponent has to respect that in every match they ever play against you ever again moving forward. So even if this goes to a game 3, Ash will have to respect whether or not Jack's bluffing. And that's so high EV in a spot where like just adding the Inquisition might not have really done that much. You've got 4 spells I can take. I take one of them. I'm tapped out. So yeah, it's a really heads-up play for future equity, not necessarily just for that one turn.
We are going to see the Flow State cast, obviously, with the Teferi Plus.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Meaning you can cast sorceries at instant speed.
And now we've got an Anticipate.
Yeah.
All that extra work to get an Anticipate.
Yeah.
That's so sick. Jack, you've done it again.
Some good cards in that Anticipate, though. Quantum Riddler? Ponder?
Ooh.
Another land if we want it. Some good options. Draw more cards.
These decks are so good. They're so powerful.
Yeah, the cards in this deck. And notably, Jack's been holding that Inquisition all game.
Yeah. No time.
Well, no time, but also no rush to cast it.
Yep.
Now we can cast it to make sure this Quantum Riddler resolves, which is pretty nice.
Also to get some cards out of hand.
Now,
so you could like play the Tamio, play the Inquisition.
Yep.
Hopefully we draw a land, and then we'll be down to 1 card in hand.
Now that Holomerc Siege is still in play. Notably, so that's going to trigger with this Scavenging Ooze. We're going to eat the Aang, still in Ash's turn.
Yep.
Draw a card.
And that commits a crime.
That'll also commit a crime. So we'll get to put a land in play as well.
Wanted criminal Ash.
So many crimes. And then, next turn, if another creature gets put in the graveyard, which it isn't currently, we could commit a crime again.
We're just going for it here. It's like the Purge.
Gain a life
24
as well.
hours, just go nuts.
And still holding up the Red Blast, which is really nice.
Oh yeah, and the Teferi's gone, so it is actually being held up now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we successfully attacked down that Teferi with the Free Strider lookout.
Yep.
Again, 3/3 body, sizable. It rumbles. And the Scavenging Ooze is going to hold down this Netherglyph as well, I think.
Yep.
So currently we've got Enchantment, Planeswalker, Sorcery, and Land. A couple unusual types there.
Yeah, we've gone for all the weird ones first, really.
Yeah.
Just chuck a battle in there, and then we can start looking at instant sorcery and creature.
Yeah, if we could get an artifact and a battle in, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Did draw the land for Jack, so going to be looking to double spell again this turn. Also has Deathrite Shaman with a big asterisk, which is
Yeah.
that it's pretty hard to activate Deathrite Shaman with a Scavenging Ooze in play. But on the other hand, if you tap the Deathrite Shaman and then Ash has to tap out,
No blast.
yep, no blast up. So there are levels to this. Instead, we're going to see Inquisition lead off, though. Pretty powerful start. Fatal Push, Liliana of the Veil, and that Red Blast that we've been talking about. Fatal Push not held up at the moment.
This is one of the struggles I've been finding with Inquisition and Thoughtseize. I had a little funny debate the other day. Riley and myself were talking about how Thoughtseize is shit, and Trent was saying it was closer to a 1-point card than it is to being shit. And I think one of the things we're realizing is as the format gets more and more powerful, and every card is insanely powerful, just taking a random card from your opponent, if it's all mid-range battles, it doesn't do as much as it used to. Like, you look at their hand and you go, cool. And to push it to its nth, to its logical conclusion, imagine every card was the same and it wins the game on the spot. Are you going to Thoughtseize your opponent?
Yeah. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I think I'm on Trent's side here. Because look at this. We just got to take a Red Blast, and now our opponent has nowhere to answer Quantum Riddler.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I'm not saying we're at that level yet. I'm saying that we're trending in a direction where as threats become more and more powerful and interchangeable, that in these matchups, taking a random card doesn't do as much as it used to. You just lose tempo, and they just play the other just as good card.
That is true, especially in these mid-range matchups. I do still think it has a place. It's obviously very, very good against combo decks or more linear decks.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is that the information is really valuable.
Sure, yeah. If you need the training wheels, I agree with you, yeah.
I actually had a discussion the other day talking to Volty, and we were discussing how good would it be, to have telepathy in play. Like, how good would that be? Telepathy is an enchantment, and it just says your opponent's play with their hands revealed.
Yeah.
And we were kind of discussing how good do we think that is, and the answer was like,
pretty
it's
good.
not bad actually.
Yeah,
like,
pretty good.
we don't want to spend a card on it.
Yeah.
But it's not that far off. We were discussing like how far down the peak tier list you would go.
Sure.
Because there's peak, there's a sorcery speed peak.
Yeah.
There's a peak that's a slow cantrip, like from Ice Age, where you draw on your next upkeep.
Yep.
We were kind of discussing like, I mean, those are all still good. Like, how far down would you go?
Yeah, I love telepathy. I play that in my Tamio commander deck. And telepathy is way nicer when you're playing against 3 opponents.
You must be really fun to play commander with.
Yeah, I don't play that often. And I ensure that by having the one deck so no one invites me again.
Meanwhile, we're going to see the Black Mana Dog. Also a pretty powerful card. Deathrite Shaman. Going to add some mana, and we get to Warp Quantum Riddler. Draw 2. I think there was a Submerge that was drawn as well. Oh, no, it's a Blue Blast.
Yeah.
Still holding on to that Tamio. Netherglyph going to come across for still only 4 at the moment. We added another sorcery and another land.
Yep.
So we get to Connive with Rafine. Do you remember this card, Terrorizing Standard?
I do remember this.
I kind of thought we'd seen the last of it, and then people started playing it in this format.
Yeah. I think this is actually one of the big draws to this deck, which is surprising because, like you said, it was mostly just, resided and retired as a standard card. But now we're seeing it back here.
I mean, the 4th toughness really matters against Lightning Bolt. The ward is really good, even though like Fatal Push exists in the format.
Yep.
Often people aren't leaving up extra mana to pay for ward.
And
it immediately gets a trigger if you have other things to attack with. It's flying, it's evasive.
And it actually kind of dodges the problem we're talking about with the blasts. It's like if you have to pay 2 mana to kill it, at that point it's just a Doomblade or a Go for the Throat.
Yeah, you don't feel that bad about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It is amazing how much Ward 1 really does make the card better.
Yeah.
We are going to see another crime committed by Ash. No cards drawn off the Holomerk because no counter was placed on with the Scoos. And Netherglyph going to come across for 3. So some pressure in play. The Riddler really looms over this game, I would say, and the Rafine is a really big threat.
Yeah.
Although, there's a reach creature on the other side.
There is. The Rafine is a 1/4?
Rafine is a 1/4 base, but obviously the Conniving could grow it bigger potentially. There's also a Fatal Push in the hand, which I think we might see go after one of the 1-drops instead, I suspect. We sort of talked about this, though. Ash has a big mana advantage now. 7 mana in play.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, we didn't have to draw those cards. We didn't have to, spend cards or resources on them.
Yep.
Fatal Push to go after the Netherglyph, triggering, and we go find another land, committing more crimes. There's a Wasteland there we talked about. A little bit late for Wasteland.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the downside, I would say, of spending your points on the Wasteland on the Strip Mine, is that they're not very good as the game goes longer. They're excellent in the first couple of turns if you can push tempo.
Yep.
But as the game goes longer, or if you fall behind, we've talked about, they can be a little bit situational.
Absolutely, yeah. And you're not playing like the crop rotation package to go get an expedition map and so on to ensure that you have it by turn 2 or 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're just hoping to raw dog it off the top.
We will immediately eat the Nethergoyf with the Scavenging Ooze, draw a card with Holomerk Siege. This engine looks really good now.
Yeah.
Holomerk Siege.
Yep.
We're on so many cards.
Yeah, so we're like drawing an extra card, playing an extra land per turn.
I think it's a Toxic Deluge in hand as well, which is interesting. We are 1 mana short of that plus Liliana in the same turn, although I don't think we've played a land yet.
Did we play that Forests?
No, I believe that was put into play. That was off the Crime last turn.
Sure.
So we could see Deluge to clear up the
Lily here.
Deathrite Shaman, but instead looks like it'll just be Lily. This is really interesting. If you minus the Lily, we're going to see that very quickly, picks up the Deathrite Shaman. Does make it really hard for the Rafine to get through the Free Strider lookout.
Yep. Also, you're pretty far behind on board now. Even if you do get in and, say, kill the Lily, are you prepared to take all that damage back?
Yep. And we're seeing the Blue Blast in Jack's hand. No red cards.
Yep.
A lot of this deck is green-black. Some of the interaction, there are some red threats. We saw red threats. We saw Lelia last game, but the Blue Blast against the 3-color decks can be awkward. Sometimes your opponent just doesn't draw the right colors for you.
Yep. And this is why when I mentioned earlier with the Sheoldred and these mirrors, this is exactly for that spot, right? They draw their Blue Blast, they draw their Red Blast, and you've got Sheoldred or Barragoyf or whatever it is, these threats that don't get taken out by that.
Meanwhile, Ash's Engine continues on. We're going to eat the Deathrite Shaman in the upkeep. That'll commit a crime, so we get a land off Free Strider Lookout.
Yep.
Put a counter on the Scavenging Ooze, gain a life, and then that'll draw another card off the Holomerk Siege.
Yep.
So this Holomerk Siege is getting pretty close to drawing like 2 cards a turn cycle.
So here's this Fractured Identity.
That is a pretty good one.
So if we like say take the Lily,
well, we might just take the Free Strider Lookout, and then we can just attack the Lily down with Rafine.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Either way, we can get rid of 2 permanents here.
Yep.
Which is a pretty big swing.
Yep, absolutely. And this is, frankly, what Fractured Identity has been doing. It costs 5 mana. It is a curve topper.
Yep.
It's really expensive, but in these sort of mid-range mirrors that really just come down to both players throwing haymakers back and forth, it's a good haymaker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a nice one to draw off the top.
There's another in the long line, the long tradition of Commander cards getting played in formats outside of Commander. It's worded this way so that everyone gets the token, but there's only one other person. I have cast this in Commander, though, and after playing Highlander a lot, totally forgot how it worked. And both of the other players went, oh, sweet, we get one too. And I went, what?
This card's bad. Why am I playing this?
This card's terrible. What?
Okay, so attack first, get the information off of the connive. No.
The pump fake attack. Nice.
Yeah, really wondering.
And notably, this Tamio is still in the hand. It's been in the hand for so long, it's still here. The other thing is, drawing a card off Rafine counts towards Tamio.
Yep. Yeah, there was this article made about like playing Brainstorm and playing it correctly. And if you end the game with a Brainstorm in your hand, that's way more optimal than deploying it earlier. And I think maybe that's what Jack's doing here with the Tamio. He's onto something we don't know about, which is he's going to keep it in his hand all game and then write an article about it later. All right, so Ash exiling some of the graveyard here before the Scavenging Ooze goes back to Jack's side.
Yep. We will get a Scavenging Ooze on Jack's side. So just really breaking up a lot of the synergies, right?
Yeah,
Scavenging Ooze is kind of the key piece that's holding together that engine. It's providing both counters and committing crimes.
Yep.
Ooze is well-known criminals.
Yep. Yeah, this is actually excellent. I love what Ash has done here. This is fantastic what she's put together. This Scavenging Ooze, a traditionally power-crept card at this point, really. They made Keen-Eye Curator recently to try and power it up a little bit. And yeah, seeing her use it so effectively to draw a card and get an extra land every turn. It's like Howling Mindlet, Rampant Growth every turn is pretty powerful.
This does mean, however, that the Free Strider Lookout will get a good block, so we're going to get to keep Liliana around for an extra turn. Yep. Plus, is valuable. Jack has 2 good cards in hand. If Ash can empty her hand or has an extra card to discard, could be really, really powerful.
You got to be aware of this Quantum Riddler. I think that's what Jack's trying to set up here, is discard the other card, play the Tamio, play the Quantum Riddler, draw 2 off of it, and then flip the Tamio in one go.
That is true. That is really powerful, and if we see the plus, that is exactly what we might see.
Yeah.
Attacking first with the Free Strider Lookout is really interesting. So we're sort of saying,
think it's the deluge here, right?
Yeah,
Gonna
yeah.
wipe the board.
Really nice. From Ash. Going to have to pay 5 life for that, which is a big chunk.
La laugh.
No price of progress, thankfully.
Mhm.
The other thing we could see, because Ash knows about the Tamio, right? There is a wasteland down there. I know I sort of, dismissed it earlier, but it's down there and we could try and pinch Jack's mana.
Yeah. I like that, especially because we know that it's going to flip. The Quantum Riddler's heads up.
Yep,
Everything's face up.
Everything's face up.
Yep.
Basing Say and one other card in hand.
Is that Moonshadow? I think it might be a Moonshadow. Is there a Moonshadow on the list?
It is an alternate art that I don't recognize. It is
Moonshadow.
Moonshadow. Hold on.
Yeah, it's just any counter.
Oh, that triggers this siege as well because they're minus
It
counters.
sure
but
does
they're
end it with
still
counters. The still counters. That's a beautiful Moonshadow. I've never seen this Moonshadow before.
It's gorgeous.
But yeah, that does draw a card, which is slightly awkward when you have a Liliana. You actually kind of want to empty your hand. But it depends. If we draw a spell, we can cast it. And if we draw a land, then who cares? We didn't need it anyway. Oh.
Oh, now this is sick.
Oh.
Now this is sick. Okay.
We love to
Ash.
earthbend wastelands.
Ash, you are a genius. I love what you're doing here.
This is like the slowest Crucible loop you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Cost you 4 mana every turn.
It's more expensive than Crucible if that was possible.
Yeah. It's like if you had to replay your Crucible every single turn and one more.
Oh, yeah, this is excellent. So we're still doing that play where we're hoping to pinch. So if Jack draws a land off the top.
Would you strip mine? Strip mine was the card drawn. It's all right. We were at Wasteland.
Yeah.
And Ash now just thinking, you know what else? I'm Basing Say.
Yeah.
Turns it into a 0/0 and then puts counters on it.
Ooh, drawing cards. Oh.
That sure does trigger Hollow Merc Siege.
This deck is beautiful.
Also, the Moonshadow's already a 3/3, by the way.
Yeah.
And now down to 5 lands, so we can't flip the Tamio like we discussed. This Liliana can Edict again, or we can just keep going up with it.
Yep.
We get to Wasteland again next turn, and I mean again and again, as many times as we like. And they're going to get to draw 1 card off the Quantum Riddler.
Okay, so we drew the land. Don't know if we want to play it.
Also, have to start thinking about how many fetchables are left. The Tundra's gone, the Underground Sea's gone, Watery Grave, Hallowed Fountain.
Yep.
So that can't get blue.
Yeah, and so this Lily can just minus here and kill this Quantum Riddler.
Yep.
If we see that if that's what we decide we want to do, which doesn't seem terrible. We've also got other options, but I like Ash's position here. I think she's got to be happy with where she's at. Yep, there we go.
Just trade that. Triggers the Moonshadow. That'll grow a bit. We can Earthbend this Wasteland again to draw another card.
Yep.
Off the Hollow Merc Siege.
We also have a Wooded Foothills and a Wasteland, so we can get 2 more counters off as we want.
The Foothills actually taps some mana at the moment.
Yeah, but if we want to add a counter,
if we want to add a counter, we can do that.
If that's what we're looking to do.
So we're going to do this. This will draw a card. And then we get to blow up a land. Yeah, add another counter. We didn't draw the card. We are drawing the card. Excellent.
Oh, is this the ooze?
Drawn.
Speaking.
Oh, choke. Okay.
Oh, yes, and that's how you should respond to a choke.
Yeah,
you should pack it up immediately.
That is the correct response to a choke. Just, okay, we're done. Yeah, okay.
All right. So
especially with the Wasteland in play as well. So it's like, and if you have any non-islands, put them in the bin.
Yeah. Wow. So that first game was 10 minutes. The second game was 20-odd minutes.
Yeah, 20, 25.
Yeah.
And once again, down to probably about 10.5 minutes by the time we start turn 1.
Yep.
These players have to play fast. But that was a really long game. Not all those games would go that long. Both players had 6, or Ash had way more than 6 lands in play.
Yeah.
And it is a sign of like, these decks can really drag out games. They can play these long games.
Yep.
But at the same time, we could see Ash play a choke on turn 2 or turn 3.
Yep.
And just end the game.
Yeah, I think this is also highlighting something to viewers at home that like these sideboard cards will slow the game down. When we're talking about 1 mana interaction, 2 mana interaction, cards that completely shut down your opponent's game plan, these cards will slow the game down. You can't just aggressively play your game 1 plan in the post-board games. And so you have to be prepared to grind. You have to be prepared to, play with some of your shooters and get them over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Blast is a great example, right? Both players have Blast in.
Yep.
Blast is purely a reactive card.
Yep.
And some of the time it doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
So your deck just inherently is going to slow down
Yep.
post-board. And you have to be prepared for that.
Yep.
Both in your deck construction and how you approach the game, and also you have to be prepared to play faster in the post-board games.
Exactly.
You have to keep up with that.
Yep.
We've talked about the little things, having tokens ready, but some of it is just, we might see some speed magic.
Yep.
These players both really experienced, both would know their decks very well.
Yep.
And it comes a point you might start to see them play really fast.
Yeah, and you
Doesn't-
can tell they didn't look through their sideboards again. They didn't look through the deck list again.
Yep.
They're just ready to get this game underway so they can
None
try
of-
and get a result.
None of the pretense either. That's my favorite, is the go to sideboards,
Yeah,
swap
yeah,
two
yeah.
cards, take them back out, just
Yeah.
so your opponent doesn't know. Keep them guessing.
Yeah.
None of that pretense here. They
Yeah.
both said, we've got 10 minutes, we're just going to play. This is a really reactive hand from Jack, though. We saw Mental Misstep, Counterspell, Force of Will. We haven't seen that many counterspells. There was also Blue Blast, I think. We haven't seen that many counterspells in the first two games,
Yeah.
but this hand is much more reactive.
Yeah.
Jack will be desperate for a threat. Because if you can put a threat in play and then protect it with your
I
counterspells...
think there was a Baleful Strix in hand. I don't know that it counts as a threat, but it's an extra bit of card advantage, an extra bit of interaction.
No, that's a Doomblade on delay with
Sure.
a cantrip.
It's on suspend, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen weird games where a Baleful Strix attacked 10 times.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's not nothing, but it's not the high-quality threat I'm sure Jack would really like. And we see here players shortcutting as well. You know, Jack surveils and Ash says, okay, well, while you're shuffling, I'm going to surveil as well. Rather than wait for you to draw, land, go, and then I search.
Yep.
Like, we're short on time. We're just going to do this efficiently. I'm going to not, admittedly, not hold up a blast. Not representing a blast is a big thing.
It is, yeah.
So there's a real cost there. Jack, we might see the Baleful Strix potentially. This is the turn he's on the play, really wants to start putting pressure on.
Yep.
Has a really great hand behind that to protect and to stymie Ash.
Yep.
But all of that is for nothing if he doesn't have pressure already.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the turn one land is actually very heartbreaking for Jack, who was really leaning on that Mental Misstep to get ahead. Yeah.
Yep.
So now Ash probably untaps and plays a 2-drop, and Jack's already tapped out. But we do have access to the Force of Will, which I think we might see here, to be honest.
I think we might. Ren and 6 is incredibly powerful.
It is. Pointed 2 points.
Yeah, justifiably 2 points. And not only here, but also just in general, is really powerful. Going to effectively draw a card every turn, but also here would just neatly take out the Baleful Strix.
Yep.
There's your pressure going.
And then hopefully play your Wasteland on your Strip Mine next turn, and then keep going with that. So that's the game plan. So
yes.
No thank you. Get rid of that.
Thoughtseize going to be a really powerful lead off. Take a look at the hand. Get to disrupt Ash's curve.
Yep. I'm glad we caught that Red and 6 wasn't exiled. It was just to the graveyard.
Oh boy. Agatha's Soul Cauldron, Minsc and Boo, Toxic Deluge, Barsing Say, Morlock, and a green card. I think that might be Freeze Try to look out.
Yeah, it
Up
is.
the top? Yeah, I can see the reach.
Is Minsc and Boo a second 2-point card?
It sure
that
is.
We've seen here a second 2-point green-red Planeswalker.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ash's points, Minsc and Boo, Ran 6 at 2 each.
Yep.
Strip Mine, Wasteland we've seen.
Yep.
And then Orcish Bowmaster is just a really powerful card.
Yep.
Especially into the blue-black calls we talked about being really prevalent and being top of mind.
Yep.
Agatha's Soul Cauldron is a sweet one that we don't see much in Highlander, but
+1/+1 counters, baby.
counters,
We're doing it.
crafting abilities on, Graveyard Hate is really good in this format.
Yep.
Does lots of things, and Jack really has to think about this. There's a lot of cards. Can be Toxic Deluge.
I think this is highlighting one of those scenarios I was trying to talk about with the Thoughtseize. You look at this hand, you're happy to take something, but you're not thrilled. You're not thrilled with leaving everything else there, are you?
On the flip side of that, I would say it also highlights the strength of Thoughtseize, which is you get to try and pick a hole. Obviously, you can't leave Ash with no good cards,
Yeah.
but you get to look and say, okay, would I like you to have no sweeper,
Yep.
and then I can really commit to the board? Or
Yep.
I can take your Planeswalker if my hand is full of removal, and I can play a more control role to invalidate the sweeper. It gives you flexibility.
Absolutely.
But I agree with you. Certainly, you take this hand and you look at the rest of Ash's hand and say, the hand is still very powerful.
Exactly.
There's still a lot of good
Yeah.
cards
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. It's look at target player's hand, take a card, lose 2 life, and feel a sense of dread.
Know how you're going to
Overwhelm
lose.
you.
Main phase fetch. Baleful Strix coming in. All important 1 damage.
19 turns. Ashley.
Now they go full speed that up a little bit.
A few less turns.
Few less turns. Lightning Bolt drawn, I believe.
Yeah.
Land, instant sorcery, already a 3/4.
This Barsing Say coming in tapped a lot more than it would in other formats that play it. You don't play as many basics in this format. So
And it matters there, because
Yep.
if it had come in untapped,
Yep.
we could have
The Lightning
eaten,
Bolt.
Well, we could have eaten something with the Soul Cauldron to get the Netherglyph down to a 2/3.
Yep.
And then, use the Lightning Bolt, and instead, Netherglyph gets to come across for 2.
Yep. And then
Strix up to 2 damage now. It's a free shock now.
that's incredible. Shock, draw a card, make a creature.
Next turn it becomes well, never mind. Probably won't become Lava Spike.
I think it'll still.
I mean,
it'll still head in.
it might trade.
Yeah.
Counterspell. Yep.
Ooh.
And this is what we talked about. Lots of counter magic in the hand,
Yep.
but this extra deck wants to be on the front foot. It wants to protect threats with its counter magic.
Yep.
But you have to have the threats.
Yep.
But Jack found the threat, and now this Netherglyph with an assist from the Baleful Strix, really on the front foot.
Is that Tameo into Brainstorm? Is that what I'm saying here? Is that
It
what I'm
does look
saying
like
here?
Tameo into
Oh,
Brainstorm.
let's do it.
That's pretty good.
That's my girl.
That's pretty good. Tameo, the very powerful pointed card, and Brainstorm, the very powerful not pointed card.
Oh, fascinating. I like this. I like this. Get a free extra card out of Ashley's hand, if possible.
Minsk and Boot, yeah, that's... this is exactly what we talked about
Yep.
with blastable threats.
Yep.
And this is why I think Minsk and Boot doesn't see that much play, is this vulnerability. And frankly, not that much that Ash could have done differently.
No.
Because the other cards in her hand are Lightning Bolt
Yep.
and Morlock. And Morlock you're also going to sink a bunch of mana into.
Yep.
What we might see here, so the Badlands is in play, probably still a Blood Crypt in the deck. Ooh, Doughty Voidwalk is
That's
a
a very nice
nice
one.
threat.
Yeah.
This Lightning Bolt here may take care of the Tameo, I suspect.
We've got a Brainstorm. Nobody panic. We can Brainstorm in response.
Well, it is sort of a both players having a staring contest.
Yeah.
First person to blink loses.
Yeah.
Because if Jack casts this Brainstorm now, and you see him looking at it, he's got nothing else to do with his mana. If he casts it, he gets to flip the Tameo. It's really tempting.
He's bored and he's like, I'm not going to have much more time on coverage.
He's
Do I just
decided,
cast spells or not?
I'm not going to get to write that article about finishing a game with Brainstorm in my
Yeah.
hand anyway. Look at the... You can see him weighing up. Like,
Yeah.
there's only 1 mana up. He knows
Does
about
it.
the Morlock.
He does it. Okay. Oh, that resolves. Are there no more red sources?
No, so I think we're
Oh, the
going to
trigger
let him...
goes on the stack.
Yeah, we're
Sure,
going to
sure,
respond to the trigger. We'll let him make the choice, which is dangerous.
Yeah.
I will say. Because,
Draw
well,
days.
we've seen the misstep go. I guess it would have to be Days, which good chance is not in the deck anymore, I would say.
Yep.
And this is a pretty bad Brainstorm. Couple lands and a 5-drop that you can't cast until you've drawn both of the lands first
Yeah.
is not ideal.
Yeah. This is the secret mode of Brainstorm, is peek into the future for 2 turns. And again, a sense of doom.
Just like Thoughtseize.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bad cards. Stop playing Thoughtseize and Brainstorm. You heard it here first from Sahar.
My argument was, if you play Thoughtseize in your deck, you should get +1 point, and I'm going to expand that out to Brainstorm as
So
well. If you play Brainstorm Thoughtseize, you get 2 points in your deck.
So you've got a rebuttal to all of the Brainstorm to 1 people, and you're saying Brainstorm to -1?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We'll take that to the committee. Look forward to that at the next points update.
So yeah, a lot of pressure here from Jack.
Yep, and we're going to eat something else with the Cauldron while we're here, I guess.
Do we have a Pyroglyph in Ash's deck?
That's a great question.
That could be a nice start to get back into this.
I would guess with the way we're eating cards out of the graveyard, we might not.
Okay, so there's a Morlock.
There is no Pyroglyph. Unusual for these decks. There is a huge Morlock. It's going to draw a card as well. Because of Ravenous.
Is Ravenous 5 or more though?
I thought it was power. We're bringing it up. We'll answer all your questions in just a moment. Ravenous.
5.
Oh, you're right. 5. 1 short. We do get to fight something.
The Delphi Voidwalker.
Yep.
Which was very important to get rid of.
Yeah, that is really important.
Yeah.
That card, otherwise, I mean, Ash is at 6 and there was a Lightning Bolt under it, or it's just a 3/2 unblockable creature.
Yep.
Is there anything cool we can graft on with the Agatha's Soul Cauldron? I don't think so at the moment. Some creatures for sure. There's
Yeah.
Baleful Strix, Lava Spike.
Okay. Now that one, point.
So what you're saying is Jack's deck's going to stay neutral on points
Yeah,
when
yeah,
Baleful
when it's
Strix
all
goes
said
to
and
1 and Brainstorm goes to -1?
Well, Thoughtseize should be -1 too.
Okay, so Jack's getting an extra point for next
Good,
event?
yeah.
Okay, good. I can't wait to play Sahar's Highlander.
180 points for everyone.
Okay, so the attack for 7
Yep.
is interesting. Ash down to 5 and then passing back. What big... and we didn't activate
I don't hate
passing
that
sack.
attack. I think that attack's actually very nice. You're not really going to win the game also in any other way.
I guess,
Just
yeah,
get
you're
in there.
effectively putting Jack in check.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem, though. Here comes...
A 2/2.
Well, Yeah, but more to the point, you lost your 7/7.
You got a little cute 2/2. I love that.
Fractured Identity rears its head again.
Okay, so we got sorcery, instant land, so it's a 3/4.
Yep, and only one sorcery though, so it can get shrunk back down by the Agus' Soul Cauldron.
Yep.
Jack is frantically thinking about what flash spells are in this deck because you didn't activate Barsing, say.
Yep.
So there has to be something going on.
I think even though they know that they're low on time, this game will be done within 5 turns. So
Yeah, 5 turns after this, both players down quite low.
they're pretty confident the game should end. So
Baleful Strix won't be enough by itself though. Barsing Say is sorcery speed.
yeah,
Jack just double jerking that. So you can eliminate anything that's 1 or 2 mana, right? Because we could have done that with the Barsing Say.
yep.
So there must be a 3 mana instant. You know what? 3 or more. You know what would be really good on this board
Yeah,
for 3 mana?
yeah.
A Shatter and a Shock.
Ooh, Bowmasters. It's a pretty nice one.
Also pretty good. Could have done this with the Barsing Say though, which is why I'm surprised.
Sure.
Although, pretty sweet. Now, this one also puts counters on creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering if we're playing around that daze we were worried about earlier. Maybe not.
Yeah, it could be that, certainly. So the Nethergrowth currently at 2/3.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Baleful Strix puts a lot of types in the graveyard.
Yeah.
So it'll actually shrink back down to a 2/3 after we eat that.
Yep, yep.
Counter on the Orc army, potentially. Yep. So we have a 2/2 and a 1/1. Could trade with the Netherglyph if we like.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yep. Looks like we'll put the counter on the Bowmasters. Either way,
Yeah, I don't like that. Just lose the
Yep.
chump block, and then you've got a lot of damage next turn. Hope to try to win the race, I guess.
I think that's what it looks like. So we can Barsing Say for 2.
Yep.
Cauldron is another 1.
That's a nice draw. We can do that as well, can't we? We can't attack with the Barsing Say if we cast the white of the reliquary that we've just drawn.
White of the Reliquary probably pretty large.
Yeah.
I think only 1 creature in the graveyard at the moment. Just that Free Strider lookout.
Yeah.
Still a 3/3 Vigilance though.
Yeah, that's very nice on this board.
I mean, the Vigilance especially.
Yep.
With life ticking down like this, Vigilance looks really good. Bowmasters has a free attack into this Morlock. We can threaten to activate Cauldron, or we can activate and hold back potentially. Yeah, so we're just going to make the 2/2.
Yep.
Try to set up next turn to
Yep.
have lethal.
This has been an excellent game. So back and forth, so grindy. This is what Highlander's all about. Powerful cards, interaction. It's so tense. I actually don't know who's going to win. I hope both players have had fun and both players win. That's my plan.
Yeah, that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
We just want everyone to have fun. Honestly, if they get a draw, both walk out of there happy, you know.
Yeah.
I do think you're right, though. We're in turns now. Would expect this to resolve one way or another. Both players sort of teetering on the precipice. This Cauldron has looked really good as well. I get the Soul Cauldron.
Yeah.
Just sort of controlling the graveyard, spreading counters around, just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think people will see this all throughout today. Cards like Strategic Betrayal, cards like Ashiok, a bunch of incidental graveyard hate will appear all throughout the day because all of these cards are trying to abuse their graveyard. Okay, so...
Overlord of the Belmerk is a big one. This
Yeah.
card's so powerful, mostly because it is a split card.
Yeah. It's also insanely good with Failure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty nice draw off the top there.
Yep.
You know.
So now has a Moonshadow in hand. Also a Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
That is a really interesting choice. So chose to hard cast the Overlord rather than play Deathrite Shaman. I believe Jack has one more turn after this.
Yep.
So not going to get to activate the Deathrite Shaman, most likely. Same with the Moonshadow. The cards in hand not super relevant if they're both creatures.
Yep.
Other than that, milled 3 lands though. So eating this sorcery will shrink the Netherglyph back down to a 2/3.
Yep.
Ash, I suspect, has one more turn after this.
Yeah, are we confirmed in turns? Because I'm not seeing a dice or anything, so maybe coverage has a bit of extra time. I'm not sure.
I believe we are. So that counter is now counting up our,
Yep.
as you say, our
There we go.
feature match often a little bit behind time. Yeah, so it
There you
is
go.
turn number 3
Yep.
there. So Ash with one more turn, Jack with one more turn. Both players on low life total.
Yep.
Just trying to find a way to punch through. Activate Barsing Say and attack. Nope. Activate Barsing Say on the same land. So now we have a 4/4. Now this will tangle with the Overlord if we want to.
Yeah, at instant speed, we can put an extra counter on it.
Yep. In comes the 4/4. Jack's going to very quickly chump block with his 2/2. That is the Morlock token that we already knew about.
Another blocker.
It's got a point of power too.
Yeah, Ash just trying to dwindle Jack's resources and board for the final attack.
Yep.
She has one more attack, Jack has one more attack, and...
Yeah, next time we get to right-click attack all and hope that that's enough. Dismember is a pretty good draw.
Pretty good, but also
Costs a lot of
contributes to
life.
losing life, which helps Ash.
So we could see Jack put 2 blockers in play and then cast Dismember for 4 life this turn. Going to be difficult.
Yeah, this is one of the interesting things about these spots is a game could come to a conclusion, but once you get to the spot, you're incentivized to maybe just block, take the draw instead.
Yeah, both
if needed.
of you definitely have incentive to play defensive.
Yeah.
Like there's a tendency to hold back perhaps and say, well, if I attack, you know, it's really risky. I can guarantee the draw, and I can't quite get to lethal.
Yep.
The Overlord could attack here. I mean, this is a great example, right? Overlord could attack here, and in a normal game, you'd say, yeah, of course I'm going to attack. I'm going to draw my card, get my trigger. But for Jack, well, this is his last turn.
Yep.
The Overlord's not getting through.
Yep.
So there's kind of no point attacking with it.
Keep the extra blocker.
Keep the extra blocker back.
Yeah, yep. And so, yeah, we're seeing this. Jack's now in on the draw, and Ash is trying to get out of it.
Yep. One last turn to
Ash
try
can
and
get
work
a
it out.
land. Is that what white does? You sack a creature, get a land?
That is correct. And it gets pumped for each creature in your graveyard.
So what land are we looking for? Do we have a Talon Gates of Madara? Oof, that'd be nice.
That would be a really sweet one. I don't believe there is a Talon Gates
I
of
don't think
Madara.
so either, yeah.
Just the Tiger.
Okay, so just thinning out our deck. Think that's the play here?
I guess so.
Yeah. Because we've lost the point of power.
We've lost the point of power, but we really need to draw something
to
win this game, I guess.
And I guess we've got no more Surveil lands in the deck.
No, both Surveil lands in play.
Yep.
It does also pump the white, so we've sort of just moved the point of power around.
Yeah, yeah.
The white now a 4/4. Quick double check. Is there anything we can do? We could eat with the Cauldron, but we're really just moving power around off the white onto something else. We are going to do that. So all our creatures now tap for mana. So that's cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. Okay.
Thoughtseize the draw. That one doesn't do anything, and it will be
This
a
is the
draw.
powerful card you were talking about.
Yeah.
This is the insane card, right?
Yeah, I mean, not great here. Not great.
-1 point, y'all.
-1 point. You heard it first. Brainstorm to -1. Thoughtseize to -1. Baleful Strix +1.
Yes, agreed.
Great.
It was the most impressive card all that game, really.
It did get in for 3 or 4 damage, and it drew a card.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That was a great game.
That was excellent. Ultimately a draw, so both our players moving on to 1-0-1.
Yep.
Still very live.
Yep.
2 rounds down now. We got 6 more to go. We're jumping out of the booth. We're going to get a couple other excellent commentators in, so they'll be around pretty soon. Rounds in time. But basically there. We've seen a lot of magic. So round number 3 coming at you shortly. Stick around.
We'll see you later today.
Really does sound like a good point. What a beautiful sound you get out of it. That's really something. It has a range to low A and up to high G. High G. so you'll need an extra for this one.
Hello and welcome back to Highlander World's Individual Edition. I'm Sam Loy and I'm joined by Dylan Kakawa. How are you doing today, Dylan?
I'm doing well, Sam. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's been really high-level play so far, and it's good energy in the room for those who you can see it in our little between rounds thing, but like there's a lot of noise, a lot of happy people, and a lot of bearded pig getting eaten.
Yeah. Everyone's excited. Everyone's having a great time. Yeah. Everyone's wanting to travel out and play these big Highlander events, and we're glad we get to run them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Dylan, we've got a great matchup coming in round 3. Who do we have?
So we have Rose Grant on a spicy 5-color Cascade list, which looks really cool.
Yeah.
And we also have Liam Minogue on Jund lands, or mostly green lands.
Mostly green, yeah. I mean, you've got to have some removal, right?
Yeah, otherwise, green's not known for its removal usually in Highlander formats.
True,
but
yeah.
Got to have a little bit.
Got to have a little bit. All right, let's get started with the match. So, as it comes up here, we're going to see a great camera swoosh there from our director. We got Rose on your left on 5-color Cascade and Liam on the right with the Jundish lands.
Jundish.